So, welcome back to the final game of the day, round 8, between tournament leader and unbeaten Marty Gabriel, who is facing off against tournament second place player and not currently unbeaten Arden Cup. And both these players have had quite a tournament already. It's Aaron's first back from a 3-year hiatus, or Scrabbatical as I like to call it. And he's doing very well. He is the 5th seed and he's 2nd. So he's outperforming all his expectations. And Marty has just drawn like a demigod right now. He just can't lose, can he? It is impossible. So let's see what happens. Will Marty go into tomorrow's play ruining the fact that he didn't go unbeaten? Or will Aaron be 3 games behind the tournament leader with no hope of finishing first? Who knows? It seems like one of the players has taken a last-minute bog break, so I will pretend to talk for 5 minutes while they finish, and then they will draw tiles and we will get started. It's Marty to go for it first, and then after that we're done for the day. More than likely I won't be streaming tomorrow's rounds, but we shall see. We shall see. So, Marty is finally back from his bog break. So let's jump over where we have his opening rack. And it looks very nice. We're looking at multiple bonuses, multiple nicenesses, and it's just overall lots of nice stuff, right? I mean, what do you want that blank to be? Might as well make it an O, right? And now here it's complete. I would play something like Stormed, obviously vertically, but smooth that one across. I'd play it here. You're not putting the M on the square, but the O is in the middle instead of the S. And you don't want to put S's in the middle because easy bonus to the triple shout. So yeah, yeah, Smarted's better. Smarted then Stormed and Smarted look like the only 2 bonuses. And Marty opens with Stormed. He takes the extra 2 points, puts that S in the middle. And I'd like to say, how often is it that your opponent's bonus is straight down after the start of the game? I guess if you like the board really open. Then it's not such a bad thing. If you hate the board really open, don't do it. And the bonus will happen anyway, right? So Aaron's already staring down the barrel of a gun. And it's not getting any funnier. because funnier is possible here. Also unified. There isn't much else on offer here. He's really not got very many nice tiles, and ideally he's going to want to play 6. The thing is about unified, it opens out the triple too much, so I would go for funnier. Just because funnier just gives less back. And Aaron plays unified. He knows he's behind as well, so he may think, oh yeah, it's not that easy to get a parallel down by the side to score a lot. Down column O. And also because he's 70 points behind already, he's probably thinking, I need to get some points back. I need to start making something happen. Because you can't wait for stuff to happen, you need to make it happen. So, you know, and making it happen is also drawing absolute clunk. So we're looking at Marty's rack. He's got high point consonants. What he doesn't have is synergy. He's got the U, and the W, the 3 worst combinations in Scrabble. So he's looking to ditch 2 of those. I would, or 3 even. I would probably end up playing vrouw here. It is the Dutch word for a woman. Try watching movies on a KLM flight with Dutch subtitles, and all you can read is vrouw. Like, I know what that means. But what it does, it leaves HIE. It is by far the best leave you could leave on this rack, short of changing. And the U isn't really that big of a risk there. Of course, if your opponent has the Q, you're a bit annoyed. But there isn't really much else on offer. And the leave valuation just comes out so much higher than everything else. But does Marty know his Dutch? The second best place Speedy Player gives is who. Of course, it leaves the V and the U combination. It does score 12 more points, and in a way you could think, oh yeah, that's you know, that's better than vrouw. But vrouw also plays an extra tile and gives away an S hook. So if the scores were more level, probably vrouw. But who is fine as well, especially considering the board isn't really open to much other scoring plays after who gets played. And Aaron notices this and changes for keeping NO and R. Now, I'm not surprised. The board isn't very nice. His rack isn't very nice. And there's not much else he can do. We've got Marty's rack now. It looks like a French bird, un oiseau. And immediately I'm looking at that R in the middle of storm. This rack isn't very nice. It does make you consider actually playing vrouw. Would that have made much of a difference? So if you think you've got an H instead of the V and the U, Maybe your next draw would have been a consonant as well. Your rack immediately looks a lot nicer, and you probably have a bit more flexibility on what you play next. So you'd play something like HOI. So I think sacrificing the points on Brow, especially considering your opponent just played 6 tiles, because they played 6 tiles, their 7th was probably a bad one. Something like an O usually, or another duplicate I. And because of that volatility, they wouldn't have been able, they may not have drawn the bonus. And look, the double gets missed. Oh, the calamity. So it seems like Marty isn't playing the most optimally, it seems. He is missing a couple of plays he shouldn't miss. Especially something like Ivories. Whether he would consider doing Ivories over Movie remains to be seen. But especially with an S already floating, it doesn't matter about another S floating. Aaron makes the most obvious play, scores the most points, and he needs to catch up, and that's really all he can do at this point. So Marty's rack actually doesn't have this R, because when you're typing on a screen, it obviously you end up tapping the letter next to it. So Marty actually has a 7-letter word on his rack, so he'll be looking for bonuses here. He'll be looking for bonuses there as well, and he'll be looking for bonuses everywhere. So because Aaron is within a bonus of Marty now, he'll just be looking to keep scoring, to keep the gap greater than 70 points, which is about the average kind of bonus score. Of course, you get bonuses that will score 350, and you get bonuses that score 56. So, you know, you typically plan for the average because, let's face it, on this board you're not going to get a bonus more than 350. So Marty's bonus is ooglies. He also has some other 8-letter words: isolog, eulogist, eulogies, and eulogize. Ideally he would play ooglies at 13F here, but he is probably worried about the positioning of ooglies, the volatility of where that O is. He's probably not super happy with that. Where else? This one. He won't be happy with that positioning either because of where the O is. Same with this one. This one isn't really much better. And it looks like he's going to sacrifice the full 11 points for ooglies to play eulogies, which is probably the safest one of the lot. It gives the least back, and I think considering he's now got a 100-point lead, he does seem to want to almost play really defensively, as if the tournament is going to end after this round. And I do find that pretty strange. He does need the spread points as well. He does you know, I don't think it's as if Marty has the most spread points in the world. So maybe he just cares about winning. But yeah, Aaron's having a tough time of it. There's no E on his rack, there's one E on the board, and it's not giving bonuses, unfortunately. His best place is to be Fix It. That is a nice play. 43 points. And then Dixit, but you still have to see that place. He plays Fluid, which is probably what's third best. There are a couple of vowels floating on the board, so leaving a consonant heavy leave is not the worst. So ideally, when there are consonants floating, you don't mind leaving more vowels, and if there are vowels floating, you don't mind leaving more consonants, because you've got that that board dynamic to counter your own rap. So Marty has scoring letters more than anything, and immediately I'm drawn to playing Hiked Through the Eye of Eulogies, just because it scores 36 points. There isn't really much else immediately jumping out at me that scores that amount of points, and you know it limits the D and I floater of Fluid somewhat. And yeah, even though it leaves 2 A's, you can't really achieve everything you want in a turn. There are a lot of times where you can't really achieve everything you want in a turn. So if you lay out some like objectives for your move, you may not always be able to achieve them because just because of the way the board is and the way your rack is. You know, ideally you want a bonus every turn, but you can't always do that. So second best. Speedy Player is suggesting Akida, but that does leave an A in the middle of 2 triples, and I don't think Marty wants to start opening 9 timers right now. Especially as, you know, he will more than likely have a 100-point lead after this. He doesn't want to be giving those 100 points straight back to Arden. He may be taking his time over this move. Marty does seem to like to take his time over moves, as evidenced by one of our earlier games. He went down to like a minute at the end and then played super quickly. So he thought long and hard about moves he didn't really need to think long and hard about. And he took no time on moves maybe he should have taken a bit more time over. Isn't that just how it works? But if he does end up playing Akida here, no doubt there will be 9 timers given away. Especially when we can see that Aaron is holding the blank. The other blank. The final blank. So we're still waiting on Marty's play. I'm not surprised. For me, Hiked is obvious, but you would like to think that there was something a bit better that may get rid of an A. I would championship player this, but I don't want to break my laptop. So other speedy player suggestions, if we go through, they all score about 10 points less than Hiked. Kidge I don't like as much as Hiked, just because of the positioning of the E along the triple line. I'm not that bothered about it being elsewhere. Kida, Kate, this one or this one, that one. That's quite a nice suggestion. It does unduplicate the letters. The only issue is it gives parallels back, but the parallel it gives back in row 14 would give back the parallel on 15. So it's not as risky as you think, because players will avoid playing along row 14 because of row 15. And it looks like Kida is what was played. which I'm not surprised about. After thinking about it, it does seem to be one of the better plays. And now Aaron is looking at one of the nicest looking racks in Scrabble. And he's looking at the D in fluid, and he's like, I want to take that thing all the way to the triple word square. And you know what? He is going to take it all the way to the triple word square. Because he's going to play into bed. As in, Jess, it's 25 minutes past midnight. It's time for you to get into bed. Badum. Awkward silence. Where are the crickets? Where are the crickets? And the tumbleweed. So, despite Marty taking all the care in the world, he still finds himself with a 33-point lead. It's been cut by 2/3. But he is looking at a very nice rack. And it does seem to work with the board dynamics. And you know what? He finds the only bonus here. And he is very fortunate. Because he's built on his lead. And there's no reason for him to worry. The board dynamics, nobody's touched the top left of the board right now. And Marty doesn't care about that. Someone still has to bonus onto the S of stormed, and it's just not going to happen. All the action is in the lower right of the board. So now Aaron's probably thinking, what the bleep do I have to do to have a lead in this game, in any game, in some kind of form of game? Because Marty is dominating. So what does Aaron do here? White flag? It's hard to know what to do here, because there's not much opportunity to score. You're kind of stuck for many options, really. It suddenly becomes, let's bring out the Nigel Richards word time. Another Nigel Richards word. Auto worker, and now acetylene. Okay. That I have no other words for acetylene. I mean, Nigel's probably learned acetyl, and he's probably extended it to acetylene at some point before. So, go Nigel and his more than likely knowledge of 9-letter words. What acetylene? So, I'm sure if Aaron had played acetylene there, Marty would have been physically sick all over the board. We wouldn't have had a very pleasant sight. I don't think anyone would have been pleased with that. So Marty is still looking to score, and Aaron is still looking to bonus. And Marty doesn't want to do stuff that opens the board. He wants to play defensive. He wants to kill off floaters while still scoring loads of points. Because there's no reason for Marty to keep the board open, to get more floaters on the board, to make more openings. If he scores 40 points, his opponent needs to score 40 points just to match him, and more than likely that's not going to happen. So he needs to score even more to close the lead, and that's quite unlikely because you can't really score 40 points every time, unless you're Nigel Richards. And Lipey is commenting on Twitch, there was a time he wouldn't be shocked for Aaron to find acetylene. Let's say there's a lot of players that may find acetylene when they are in their groove. I saw acetyl for all I'm worth. I legit saw acetyl because I know it from all my chemistry classes. I just didn't know what acetylene was. If I knew the word acetylene, I would have seen it. So maybe that's the case for me to study 9-letter words. Oh my god, clapnets. I don't think that's how they work. But he missed clapnets. So I mean, the thing is, the time that he gets the bonuses to play, he doesn't play the bonuses. And you find that a lot when you when you lose, sometimes you end up missing the stuff that you should see, and that costs you. Like, when the opportunity presents itself, you need to take it, and he didn't take it. So, like he said, back when Aaron was playing a lot, he was one of those odd birds, a polite way of saying what I like to call something else, who learned the entire book for fun. I learned low probability words for fun, and then played Scrabble because he'd already decided to memorize the dictionary. Well, yeah. And then it turns out Marty already knows the word clapnet because he made the word last year. So Marty, he's probably very relieved at this point. I don't know what he's thinking about. He's probably thinking, wow, I'm really dominating the crap out of this game. Pardon my English or my French. I mean, ideally he would play Ixia, but he's probably worried about making this opening for a bonus ending in S. So he's probably going to avoid that. And all the other players are kind of fishing off letters, and he doesn't really want to be making the play like fishing off letters in the sense that it just makes openings. And I don't think he really wants to do this. So he plays Ager on top of Storm. Okay. It may have just been worth playing Agria, to be fair. You're making the lane anyway, you might as well make it. So the thing is about Agria is you prevent the lane across row 7. Even if you get floaters going down, you prevent the 7 lane, and 8s are harder to find than 7s. I find. yeah, as Lipey says, Clapnets would have made this definitely a game. I mean, you're talking about a 90-point bonus right there. At least it would be within a bonus at that point. Yeah, and Ager is fine because the biggest threat is the H column. Yeah, I mean Marty doesn't care about a bonus scoring 70. He just needs to stop the bonus scoring 90. Really. Which is what Clapnets would have done. So Aaron plays all above Ager. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a lot of the best players are now going to come through the XI, and it looks like neither player is really looking at the XI possibility, which is quite unfortunate because it's a great 30+ scoring place, and it's just being overlooked because you don't really think about playing those kind of extensions, and it's always worth, whenever a word gets played, it's always worth looking, okay, how can I change this word? What can I do to this word on this particular place on the board? How do I extend it? How do I, maximize its use? And then you write it down on your score sheet. You just write it down so that you can look at it later in the game and say, oh yeah, I remember thinking about that. I've got those letters now. I can do something about it. Yeah, Marty's sitting there with an almost 100-point lead, and there's 18 tiles in the bag. Aaron really needs back-to-back jacks to make this anywhere near decent. And I mean, it almost doesn't matter what Marty does now, as long as he doesn't make completely terrible mistakes. So, Marty plays Trant here. I'm not surprised. He really just needs to play letters at this point. Maybe it would have been better up here on E5, or even here at G3. Just to block some of those sevens lanes maybe, but it's not as if he's super worried about them anyway. What he's just doing is playing tiles, which is all he needs to do. Just empty that bag a tiny bit quicker, and Aaron won't have the chance to come back. So now Aaron's looking to maximize the Z. He's not going to bonus very well with it on his rack, so he's going to have to try and work out how to use it. And with the board being as tight as it is, and Marty taking all the best scoring spaces for minimal points, it's becoming an endless struggle for Aaron. He never really got going. I mean, if he did get going, he probably stalled and seized up and collapsed halfway through. But I mean, it's hard to see what he does here because he's not got the right letters to extend anything. He's not got the right letters to play parallel to anything. So it's almost as if he has to open everything up and hope for the best. Yeah, that will be the play, I guess. Zonular keeps the floaters open. Oh, and I think I just heard some thunder. And you know what they say, I hear thunder but there's no rain. He plays Zona. I can see why he's played Zona. It just... Yeah, I can see why he doesn't see Zonula, but... I mean, Zona... It kind of feels like he's giving up. And to be honest, I would give up as well. It's hard to see winning from this position. It's much easier to see losing from this position. So, Marty's got no vowels. There are 9 unseen from the 7. I'm not surprised Marty just plays 2 tiles here. Ideally, I would probably have preferred him to play 3. He is holding on to the last S, and because there are 9 in the bag, you want to make sure you leave less than 6 in case Aaron's going to exchange the Q if he's not holding on to the U. So I don't see why Marty would leave 7 over 6 in this position. I mean, in the end, Aaron's going to get all the tiles anyway. He's got Croquette here, and Rocket. Gotta love me some croquettes. And that's 90 points. So he makes a startling comeback. Unfortunately, it's probably not enough. Because the J would have probably had to have been in the bag, so that Aaron could use it for loads of points. Because no doubt Aaron's next move ends up being movie, so Marty needs to find a 2-move play out here, and he's probably home and hosed. And that's really hard with the N and the L on the rack. L, yes, of course. Marty finds the best play, just 77 points for Jay-Z. Not that Jay-Z, another Jay-Z. That was a bad Jay-Z. I've never pronounced that word before, and I felt really stupid. So Aaron's probably like, I made my comeback and this is what happened. Yes. And it usually happens that way. And it sucks. But miraculously, that was the closest he had been all game to Marty. And I wouldn't be surprised if he just plays movie here, or one of these 3 because they're better than movie, and just be done with it. It looks like Aaron's maybe given up at this point. Plays Oxim, which is... I mean, I don't think it gives a playback. I think it is the best, actually. Oh god, it's not even there. Don't even know where Oxim went on that. Disappeared. And here comes the rain, the clouds have broken. But yes, Marty takes his only outplay. And he wins the game by 68 points. What a game. And Aaron may rue the misses of clapnets, and he may also rue that acetylene could have gone down. Whether he knew it or not, we may find out. But it could have, both of those bonuses could have been absolute game changers, and because they weren't played, they didn't change the game, and unfortunately Marty capitalized, got his bonuses in early and kept the board so tight you could barely swing a cat on it, or let a cat climb on it. Who knows? But anyway, that is the last game for today. So we will see you again maybe tomorrow for some more games. I don't know what my schedule is going to be like. So maybe we will get some more of the tournament in for you for the rest of Memorial Day weekend. Which sounds so contradictory. So anyway, have a good evening, and I will see you guys whenever next time is. Good night.